long story. I worked in a nursing home kitchen for a month back in 2017. Thankfully, it was a temporary job as I was on summer break from university. There were so many things that were up with that place, and I kept on questioning my boss, the head cook, and the care home manager about many things. Firstly, raw meat was stored on the top shelf in the fridge. So unhygienic. Not to mention that some of the kitchen staff had very poor personal hygiene too. I once saw one of my colleagues drop a boiled egg on the floor. To my horror, he put it straight back on the plate and gave it to a resident. That's before we even get to some of the carers. I knocked on residents' doors when I entered a resident's room. One of the senior carers pulled me up about that, but I told him to do one. Thankfully, the head cook had my back about that. Once I noticed that one of the stair banisters was loose in the dementia unit, which many residents used, and mentioned it to the maintenance guys. When they didn't do anything, I went straight to the care home manager to demand that it got done. She managed to turn the subject around from a health and safety issue to me losing my job if I didn't shut up and toe the line. I was just speechless. Oh, and the activities coordinator was one of the most horrible people I'd ever met. She was in charge when the manager wasn't around, but she was even worse than the manager. She acted so nice to the residents and their families, but she treated all the carers and the kitchen staff like dog shit and used to go on frequent power trips. I remember on one evening shift, one of the nurses was unhappy because she thought I had served dessert portions too small. No issue, I offered to fix it. The nurse wasn't having that and got the activities coordinator, and 5 minutes later she gave me an absolute dressing down in front of all my colleagues. I must admit I nearly walked out, but I didn't want to screw the guys in the kitchen over either, as they were already short-staffed as it was. It was at that point that I decided I'm never coming back to this place once this shift is over. The head cook texted me that evening after I'd finished work and basically told me that whilst he liked me, I was not welcome back at all. Apparently, I'd pissed off the higher-ups for talking back and being disrespectful. I had a feeling it was coming anyway, though, and went back to university to complete my degree. Every time I have a bad day at my current job, I always think, at least I'm not at the nursing home. Thankfully, one of the kitchen staff who I had always got on with quit his job not long after that and reported the nursing home to the council as an anonymous whistleblower. The council sent an inspector to the home and they noticed everything that was wrong. Apparently, the care home manager got a massive fine, yet somehow still kept her job. To my amusement, though, she complains in the town's Facebook group about being short-staffed. Story 2. Worked in a large hospital back in the olden days of paper charts, mid-90s. The records department was quite large, and there were shelves and shelves of them, like a huge library. Records was on the first floor, and there were outpatient clinics on the second floor. The hospital was multiple stories, maybe 10. This will be important later. Some jackass kid was in a waiting room on the second floor while their parent had an apt, and they thought it would be funny to go into the bathroom and light some M80s and flush them down the toilet. Now, one M80 might have just stressed the pipe, but 3 of them was equivalent to almost a half stick of dynamite. The fireworks had hit the main stack before they blew, so 9 floors worth of feces, urine, and liquid biological waste was let loose in the ceiling above, you guessed it, the medical records department. The explosions triggered the fire alarms and some other kind of facilities alarms, so we all ran out to the lobby. We could see through the wall-to-wall glass interior windows. There was literal poo soaking the drop ceiling, raining down onto the racks of records, soaking them, and the smell was god-awful. The best part? Our department head ordered us back in with rolls of plastic sheeting and told us to protect the records. We all looked at her like she was a crackhead. Eventually, some of the employees did go back in to help, but most of us noped out. A few days later, our entire department was ordered to get Hep A shots and issued N95 masks. Our office wasn't habitable for almost 2 weeks, and when we went back, we were told to clean our desktop surfaces and chairs ourselves with spray cleaner, and they had not yet shampooed our office carpets. About 2/3 of the staff quit on the spot. Most of the staff were older and riding out this job until retirement, and they just pieced out and put in their retirement papers early. I felt bad for the patients, though. For some of them, that was a lifetime of their medical history destroyed. The hospital hired some biohazard remediation company to come in and photocopy whatever they could salvage, but most of the records were a total loss. In anticipation of your questions, I'm no OSHA expert or plumber, but yes, I know they rinsed blood and pus down the drain from the surgical theaters. No, I don't know what happened to the kid, like if the hospital sued his parents or anything. Yes, I was one of the people who quit on the spot. We were planning to move in a few months to a different state, so I didn't really care about the job. Also, this was before HIPAA was a thing, so the secrecy of the records was not as intense.
Story 3. I'm a plumber, and about 4 years ago I got dispatched to a customer that wanted to replace a toilet, so I drove about 45 minutes all the way up to her in Gurney. Fine. So I drove up there and I went in. At first, she was very nice, middle age, maybe early 50s to mid 50s, normal-looking house. She simply told me that she had a toilet, she wanted it replaced, and she got a quote from another company. I can't remember the exact amount, but after looking into it, I told her I'd be able to save her about $100 if my company did it. So I started talking to her about pricing, and she started getting a tiny bit combative with me, saying that she wanted to give me money and a coupon and wanted me to go drive down to Home Depot and pick this up for her. And I told her that there would be a charge for that. We don't just take money and go pick it up for free for you. So she gets on the phone talking to someone and says, "Here, talk to my dad." So she hands me the phone. So I start talking to her elderly father, which is kind of weird since she could be a grandma. And I basically explained the same thing to him, that we'd be able to save $100. And as I'm doing this, I see her on the other side of the kitchen island pacing back and forth, mumbling to herself, which has me a little concerned, so I'm kind of following her with my eyes, and I start talking to her dad, and he says, "Yeah, that might be a little expensive." And as I'm trying to figure out the price with him, she runs up to me, screams in my face, "Give me my phone back now! Give me my phone back now!" So I give her the phone back, and she starts screaming, "Get the fuck out of my house right fucking now!" and reaches behind her and grabs a knife out of the butcher's block and starts chasing me around the kitchen with a stabbing at me, like literally trying to kill me. I run out the front door, run into my truck, and she's out there stabbing at the window, and I had to peel off. Now, I should say, a lot of people might say, well, I would have beat her ass or I would have taken the knife, but when you're a guy in a house alone with a female customer, you have to be extremely careful how you handle things because you can get sued so easily. I called the police came out, they're all nonchalant, and I told them, I'm like, this lady tried to kill me. She tried to stab me with a knife. And they nonchalantly told me, oh, we know who this lady is. She has serious mental issues, which I didn't know about, obviously, and there was an issue with the cable guy about 2 years ago. And they told me I could press charges, but that they wouldn't stick because of how crazy she is, but I could sign some form to have her involuntary committed, which is what I did do. But yeah, ever since then, I've had a lot of anxiety about going into random people's houses. And for God's sakes, when I was talking to her dad, he could have at least fucking warned me. That son of a bitch. Anyway, that's my story.